So we are going to have a quiz on percents tomorrow. This will cover lessons 64 to 71. So if you want to reference that in your jump math, those are the lessons to be looking at. Your first instruction is to convert the following decimals and fractions to percents. Your first example could start with a fraction such as 3/5. So if we know that a fraction is like a percent out of 100, we can try to come up with an equivalent fraction that has 100 as the denominator. So because 5 times 20 is 10, if we multiply both numbers by 20, we'll get an equivalent fraction. So that gives us 3 times 20 is 60. So that means 3/5 is equal to 60%. So that is what we would put on our line. They might also give you some examples where they just give you a decimal and ask you to turn it into a percent. So 0.56 can be written as a fraction out of 100, which would be 56 out of 100. And that tells us that this would be 56%. They could also give you a question such as 3 out of 4. So we can turn 3/4 into a fraction out of 100 by multiplying the top and bottom by 25. So that gives us 75 out of 100, which is 75%. So 0.006 is the same thing as 6 out of 100, which would be 6%. So if you only have one digit, it can still be a one-digit percentage. The second question asks you, is the fraction closest to 10%, 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%? They will give you a few fractions, and you have to figure out which one it is closest to. When we have 3/10, we can try to think of this as a fraction out of 100. So to get from 10 to 100, we need to multiply by 10. So we'll do the same to the top, and 3 times 10 gives us 30. So that means this is 30%. Now, I don't actually put 30% on the line. Instead, I look at whether 30% is closest to 10%, 25%, 50, 75, or 100%. 30 is closest to 25%, so we'll write 25% on the line. So to get from 5 to 100, we can multiply by 20. And if we do the same thing to the top, that gives us 40. And so 40% is closest to 50%. So 6 out of 10 will become 60 out of 100 when we multiply the top and bottom by 10. And 60 is closest to 50%. Now, I will tell you that there is a bonus for this question, but I will not tell you what it is. Question number 3 asks you what percent of the figure is shaded. So our first step is to figure out how many triangles there are in total, which would be 8. And then we look at how many are shaded, which would be 4. And this tells us, so 4/8 could also become 1/2, which we know is 50%. And I like to draw little lines, apparently, in bright green. So the fourth question might ask you something like, if 30% is 8, what is 90%? First, we have to figure out how do we get from 30% to 90%. So we're figuring out what would go in the middle. We're going to multiply by 3. Now remember, for this question, you can't just add groups, but you can multiply groups. So we wouldn't add 60, we would multiply by 3. Then we could go, okay, well, 30 is 8. So then if we do the same operation, we multiply by 3, that should give us what 90% is. So that would be 24. So your answer is that 90% is 24. There will be one more bonus after question number 4, and then we'll move on to question number 5. The final question will ask you something along the lines of, what is 15% of 33? So our first step is to multiply. So we're going to do 33 times 15. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Placeholder. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Add it all together, and that gives me 495. My last step is to take this answer and divide it by 100, which will give me 4.95, because I'm just moving the decimal place back 2 places. Those are all of the questions that will be on your test. Feel free to make your own practice quiz to help you study.